Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is the May meeting of the Special Committee on Racial Equity, and this is our final meeting of the year. And I'm so pleased to have some colleagues from the community board, our board chair, as well as some representation from Mekong, which provides services in the Bronx. So without further ado, I know that two of my committee members will be joining remotely, hopefully. And so, for the edification of the community, we're just thrilled to have you. That we will be posting this presentation to the community board website, and so that it will have larger reach than just all of us here tonight. So, thank you so much for being here. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, if you need to share any presentation, or I can always give you, make you a co-host. But if not, looking forward to the conversation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cameron. I'm the campaign director at Mekong NYC. I'm also one of the co-founders. Um, I don't know how far you want me to go into a little intro, but
Yeah, that would be
um,
great.
okay. So we organized a Southeast Asian community in the Bronx and throughout the New York City. Specifically work with the Cambodian Vietnamese refugee and immigrant population. Our office is located in Community Board 8. We've been organizing the Southeast Asian community. Mekong started in 2012, but we have a history of organizing the Southeast Asian community since the mid 90s. In the Northwest Bronx, in this like 5 mile radius of where like Kingsbridge Avenue, Jerome Avenue, University Avenue, Grand Concourse. In the early 1980s, that's where the first wave of Southeast Asian refugees came to the Bronx. So we've been here in the Bronx since early 80s. So we've called the home here in the Bronx for 50 years, 50 plus years. And so we do everything from providing direct service and advocacy for our community members, um, you know, everything from helping them apply for Medicaid and Medicare, healthcare needs, SNAP benefits, housing, citizenship, immigration support. We also do a lot of arts and culture programming. So we do intergenerational work with both our young folks and our adults and seniors. And then we also do a lot of community organizing, so policy work, coalition building with other communities of color in the Bronx and throughout the city. We do a lot of work on city, state, national as well, with racial justice, economic justice. We also do a lot of anti-deportation work. That's a part of our immigration work. So we do a lot of things. And so just very thankful to be here with y'all. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Could you share some of the languages that are offered in some of your services?
Yes. So with the Vietnamese community, we support in language support in Vietnamese, and then for Cambodian community, the language is Khmer. So we do have staff that speaks both Vietnamese and Khmer. So a lot of like the resources and information that often comes either from coalition partners or just updating about ongoing policies or things that come from like government agencies, where often the front lines providing those resources and language support. So a lot of the language access piece of our work is very connected to the support that we can provide for our base.
Mhm. And are there any particular challenges that you feel like are hitting Mekong communities hardest, or things that have been most challenging to overcome, or is it, specialization in language and culture that you all offer, sort of all of the above?
Yeah, I think like many other communities of color and marginalized community, our community is very reliant and heavy on government assistance and support. So a lot of our seniors are Medicaid and Medicare recipients. We also you know, are very and then we also have a lot of seniors that are unable to work. We come from a history of war violence and genocide, and so there's a lot of trauma and mental illness that our community members deal with. So the health justice piece is very much one very important piece. Um, Especially now in this political landscape, I think just tax on like different services and resources to different communities, I think been very front and center. So like making sure how do we are educating our community members and connecting to how do we access these services and programs without the fear of things that we're seeing in the community, especially with immigration issues. That's also been top of mind. So we've been doing a lot of know your rights education, providing immigration support for any of our community members, just making sure that there is a safety net that we can provide and connect with them. So I think those are some really big pieces. We've also seen a lot of increase just around SNAP benefits, theft in our community as well. So we're trying to like document kind of what are some of those experiences have been like. So yeah, I think a lot of the accessibility to language access as well as to very important services has been program services have been important.
No, go ahead, Julie.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the presentation. I'd like to know within the district, is there a high number of Vietnamese or Cambodians? And if so, which is the language that you would recommend if we were doing literature to do outreach into the community?
Yes. So our old office was on University and 198th. So we were like right by Fortisite Park and St. Talentine. So like literally that 5 mile radius, you have community members that are like spread throughout the community, in like really prominent buildings. And then the numbers that it ranges from let me see, 8 to 10,000 Southeast Asian community members. That's been like an influx of numbers that we've been like using throughout the years. Folks have moved away, folks have came back. We've also lost a lot of community members because of age too. So that's also something that we've been paying attention with. And then as far as literature and language specific, I think it's a little bit more easier to get material for Vietnamese languages. It's a little bit more challenging for Khmer, for the Cambodian community. So I know that's something that, especially with like with different like government agencies and offices, I know the languages are catered to the population size. So I know that's a challenge.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think Vietnamese has been a little bit more easier to push on because there's a bigger Vietnamese population than Cambodian.
Well,
Hmm.
thank you.
Yeah.
And how do people plug into your services?
Yes. So in the Bronx, we have so in Marion Avenue, but like 196, there's a Cambodian Buddhist temple there, that's been there for many, many years. We have St. Talentine, there's a Vietnamese congregation that's there. If you go down Andrews Avenue, there's a Vietnamese Buddhist temple that's there. So there are some religious institutions that we've been able to connect to. We also have Southeast Asian small businesses throughout the community as well. So many of them were on Jerome Avenue in Kingsbridge. There was the Vietnamese restaurant. There's the Cambodian supermarket on Kingsbridge. There are a few nail salons that are in the area still. So either um, Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention too, the Family Health Center at Fordham Plaza. So originally the Family Health Center was on 193rd and Webster. So that was the when the first wave of refugees came to the Bronx, Montefiore at the time created a clinic called Indo-Chinese Mental Health Center. So this was like 1980s, and that was one of the health clinics that was providing mental health support and primary care support for community members. And then throughout the years, they transitioned and moved into the Fordham Plaza building where they now exist. So the Family Health Center still exists. A lot of our community members still seek health access support there. So there's still connections to that space. And so throughout all those different pieces, that's how we've been able to build. And a lot of our family, have grown in the community and family and friends throughout the years too. So word of mouth, like many of the community members, also spread too.
Um, slight pivot. Were you at Councilmember Sanchez community conversation around safety and Project Rise? Were we at the same table?
Yes, yes, okay, yes,
I
yes,
know. I knew I recognized you, but like the Zoom was throwing me off. I was like, is that him or not him?
yes, yes. I
Yeah.
remember. I know it feels like so long ago. We were just at City Hall yesterday for a coalition rally and stuff. So yeah, I was like, yes, yes.
Yeah. And if you feel comfortable, I mean, do you mind saying a few words about what it is or how your organization is involved, if at all?
Yes. So yeah, we got invited to join and be part of that space. So the West Bronx Community, I think, Safety Partnership that Councilmember Sanchez put together. So bringing into community, neighbor, and other organizations to like learn what are some of the ways that we can provide investment and resources to different programs or come up with ideas of different programs that will help, reduce violence, reduce crime in communities um, that were pointed out as I wouldn't say high risk, but community members that I think were more impactful. And so both Councilmember Sanchez's team and the Bronx DA said that the this neighborhood, the Kingsbridge Fordham area neighborhood, would be where they would invest those resources. So I believe the New York State, I forgot the agency, but New York State folks were the one who put together the presentation. They talked about different examples of different programs throughout the state that they support. So it can be anything from, after school programs that are like targeting young people and youth together to, improve their communities. It can be art based, it can be culture based. I think the idea is creating a space for a steering committee. So that was another ask too, if folks wanted to be part of the steering committee, and they would be able to put together a proposal, and then ultimately choose what project would be invested in for the community.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe it was DCJS. I believe that's the New York State entity. And it seems as though Project Rise has taken place mostly in upstate New York. And, like we've seen with a few pots of money, New York City had not been eligible for that kind of funding previously, which is crazy. And I believe the Bronx DA had been and continues to be working with the governor to try to release funding that is like Project Rise, which is like wraparound care services, certainly confronting the roots of violence, but then focusing on mental health, community engagement, family engagement, trauma-informed services, opportunities for youth, and then vocational training and skill building. So this is an incredible opportunity that the DA and Councilmember Sanchez have involved. I think CB7, certainly the organizations like Mekong and those that you mentioned in the Fordham and Kingsbridge area. And I think it's just such an incredible opportunity to think about many different cities throughout the state of New York that have received this kind of funding. And, the details are going to be different, but the structure and sort of the path to figuring out what those details are going to be and what it's going to look like on the ground in the Bronx. The structure itself is pretty consistent. And so it's awesome to be able to learn from other cities and be able to not only implement that structure to bring about solutions, community-led solutions, youth-led solutions, and how there can be funding invested in the Bronx specifically to advance a number of these priorities. So I'm so pleased to see your face tonight. We didn't even recognize, we didn't even introduce each other, I suppose. We just got right into the business of the conversation. But it's an incredible opportunity, and hopefully CB7, CB8 will be working together on this because, we are neighbors, and whatever happens in CB7 tends to spill over into CB8, and it's up to all of us. So I'm so thrilled to see that you're a part of it, and however we can be helpful. I know I'll stay in contact with the council member through her work in CB8 and CB7, of course, but love to stay in contact and however we can be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also appreciate like Cesar making the connection to like I think that's the other thing. Like we just recently moved into the new location, which is in CB8. So that's right there by so forget the address, but but we have the building right by Reservoir and 197th. We're like across the street from Lehman College and Walton High School. So like we're right there. And so I very much, yeah, would love to stay connected and yeah, anytime we can share resources and be an ally, please let us know for sure.
Likewise. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. I don't want to keep you too late considering you've got a lot on your plate, but we just appreciate you coming out and sharing the services that you all provide in the community and how folks can connect in. Anything else, Julie?
No, he covered a lot, and we are appreciative. And that's right off of by University and the Reservoir, your new office.
Yes, we're yes, right across we're like by the playground that they just finished working on, where that house
Exactly.
with a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Miss Grace
And so
is
you're really right on the cusp of the district, huh? Yeah.
right there.
He just made it.
Yes. We just hosted a community health fair last Saturday too. And so yeah, it was really funny. That was we wanted to get a feel of what it felt to do like a community open to the public, open to the neighborhood event. And so that was something that was really fulfilling. And yeah, we have a family day that we're planning that's coming up in June. So we'll definitely share that out for folks as well.
Yes, because we shared your last event on our website, so please do share the information.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else? No, Althea's in and out. Althea is our vice chair. Well, thank you so much and have a great night. You can stay on if you wish, but also you can carry on with the rest of your evening.
Okay. Thank you so much. I do have to run, so you all have a great night and rest of your meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, so oh cool, Althea's back. So Althea, it looks like Daniel had a family emergency. So I guess we'll just briefly I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I have so much going on right now. I'm sorry. It's like
Oh,
a lot.
please, please, that is quite all right. So I guess I just wanted, it was perfect timing because I did want to speak about that event that I went to, hosted by Councilmember Sanchez. And certainly, Althea, we can talk about it, when you're back, because I think it pertains to the Public Safety Committee. And last night at exec, we were just talking about, how youth education, the parks and rec committees, public safety can be working together on youth-led solutions to some of the challenges that we're seeing in the district. And this conversation, I'll share, I took pictures of a couple of the slides from this conversation with Project Rise, but it just feels like this is these are the kinds of things that we want to plug into, that we're not looking to lean on NYPD to intervene, but looking where young people have options, where they certainly there has to be accountability for people's actions, but that there's a place to grow, there's a place to play. If there's going to be a recreation center that potentially could be developed, and some of the conversations with Van Cortlandt Park, making sure that youth are a part of those conversations, and jobs, and the list goes on and on. So I know that we want to talk more deeply with some of our colleagues on public safety, as we're both on that committee together as well, and just make sure that we're leading with compassion and looking at data and where we can really make an impact, make sure that young people know what's available to them and that they have the support of the community around them. So we can talk about that. Really high level, the mayor's office also released just a couple of days ago the preliminary report on racial equity in New York City and the true cost of living. So those are two massive documents, 300 some pages in the former. That was a report that voters mandated that the city of New York provide. And it's taken about 4 years for that report to be finalized and to be published publicly. So it's been a long time, but I'm looking forward to digging into that document. Althea, I don't know if you had a chance to review it. I know that you're traveling, but I just wanted to highlight that as a snapshot of where we are at SCREE.
Yeah, the meeting came up too quickly for me. So I've been trying to scan through it, but I know in the next week or so, when things settle down a bit here, I'll be able to have time to actually have a more deeper look at it. Yeah, but I was just scanning the beginning of it right before this meeting. So I'd need I'd like to look at it in more detail, but I just need things to kind of even out
Yeah.
my life right now.
Yes.
And then I'll be able to sit down and do it and look at it.
For sure. And I think I was just working on the draft executive summary for our interim report that we submit to the full community board next month, and just thinking about where we've been over the last year as a committee, and then across the community, looking at the mission of SCREE, which is certainly focused on how our city and our country have sort of come to this point, and how we can take action day to day, and making sure that we do what we can, holding people accountable, demanding equity within the community, making sure that it's backed with dollars, and with community support, and that it's community driven. I'm really excited to see what's in this report and how it's going to shape SCREE's agenda in the year ahead. But at a high level glance of this 300-page document, I mean, it seems like we're pretty well aligned, and so I think we've got our work cut out for us. But it's incredible to see that the city has put some real data behind looking at racial inequity and what can be done about it. So the draft is with you and Daniel. I know as you guys get a chance, we're going to hopefully finalize some of our snapshot documents of what Community Board 8 has done over the course of the last year. The executive summary of our annual report just sort of gives a brief overview. So you're working on the activities document, and I'm probably going to work on the capital request, updating that document and some of the other data that we usually update. But it does feel like there's a really nice roadmap going forward. So looking forward to see where SCREE goes from here. The other thing I wanted to mention, we had invited Councilmember Sanchez and Councilmember Dinowitz tonight to speak to their work on combating hate in the district and certainly in New York City. Councilmember Sanchez was trying to be here. She was trying to move her schedule around, and ultimately a meeting with DOT won out. So I can't blame her for that one. We know we need to get those conversations with DOT. And Councilmember Dinowitz had a conflict tonight, but I'm hoping that they can come and present perhaps at another standing committee before the end of the year so that they can report on what they're doing. New York City has a new committee on combating hate, and Purina, Councilmember Sanchez, is on that committee. I don't think Councilmember Dinowitz is, but he's working with the speaker on, a 5-point plan that they've described that's about, providing Holocaust education, providing, safety and plans around the safety of schools and houses of worship, and, providing some dollars behind trying to provide education, back it with security, and bring stronger community ties and conversations together. So I'm hoping that they can come and speak to some of those issues before the year is out, but certainly, the council's work will continue into September, where hopefully we'll be able to pick up and they can give us a rundown of what they've accomplished. It looks like some of the legislation was introduced in March of this year, March 2026. So, from SCREE's perspective, we launched the Combating Hate Resource Guide in 2024. In 2025, we had a call to action in which we asked all of the community board standing committees to take hate onto their agenda, make sure wherever they could address, mitigate, combat hate and hateful actions or behaviors in the district, that they would take that on. So this is not that SCREE necessarily encouraged New York City Council to create this committee and have our council members be so much in the forefront of this work, but we're really proud of it and looking forward to their work at a legislative and a citywide level. So I just wanted to capture that as well. Any questions or comments? Not that I could necessarily get into deep with the response, but I'm happy to hear what you all have to say.
I just want a little clarification. I know that the mayor had vetoed part of the buffer zone legislation. I wasn't sure if the council were going to, because I think he it is part of it. I think now what was it? Whether it's the schools or the houses of worship, I can't remember which one piece, but I know he vetoed a piece of it. Do we have any information on whether or not the council will override his veto? Because I know they have the power to do that. And I wasn't sure how it connected to what the governor has, because I know the governor has something else going on that is in relation to buffer zones of between, at houses of worship and schools. So,
yeah.
it's
a great question. the chair of public safety, everyone's favorite, Ed Green, he brought it up last night as something that he was going to follow up with Councilmember Dinowitz on.
Okay.
Because part of the conversation at exec last night was focused on some of the language within that legislation that the mayor vetoed that, you know, NYPD thought that the language was very broad, educational institutions. So rather than naming schools, it was a very broad definition, which potentially could have enormous reach within communities. And perhaps that dilutes the impact of the intention of this legislation, because how many buildings or organizations could be considered educational institutions? And if that language is broad, then, you know, maybe it becomes too ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
So Ed was going to go back to the council member to ask that exact question that you raised, and also to see what the council was discussing in terms of making that language more specific, and if it would have the support to override that veto. Julie?
I just wanted to add that we're also looking to see if the council member is free the night of the meeting, the board meeting, so he can, I want to put him on the agenda to give a brief explanation, since we're going to be voting on that. And it was a bit of conversation last night at exec, so it would be nice if he can come and just explain it a bit, since Ed mentioned that was his bill. So hopefully he'll be free and we'll give him a few minutes.
And I don't know the specifics of the governor's work. I know that she has put money behind mitigating hate crimes, but I don't know the specifics. It looks, you know, from what I did look at, it looks like a lot of funding for community building, community services, and safety measures. I think, you know, part of the conversation that exec has had, not recently, but certainly I think around the holidays, like end of year holidays, was that Julie and the vice chair were discussing NYPD's requirements for designating behaviors or actions as a hate crime, and that previously perhaps the definition was too broad or too specific, rather. And so I think NYPD is reviewing its sort of clarification, its standard around what is a hate crime, and how they bubble that up to New York State. So I don't know what the action plans are on that, but that is part of this conversation as well. Okay. I think that captures the things that I wanted to cover tonight. I think so. Yeah, so just one last thing. I know I did mention it, but in terms of updating the capital requests that we usually do for the interim report, I'll also be updating the, we have a tracker based on what city agencies say in response to Community Board 8 capital and expense budget requests. So I like to keep track of those so that we know exactly what city agencies are saying about why or why not specific asks of the community board are or are not honored. So I'll be updating that as well. Okay, great. Anything else, Althea, or any of our participants tonight? Thank you all for being here. Okay. So we'll look to have final drafts to each other, Althea and Daniel. We'll send the documents around, and then Julie will try to get you drafts of all of these documents by the first weekend, like after the first week of June, just so that you can see it before we share it with the larger board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great. Certainly any community members, anything you'd like to share tonight or ask us to follow up on?
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry I was late. Merritt told me about the meeting and I intended to come earlier. So I'm sort of like just catching up on listening to what you're saying.
Well, this meeting is being recorded, so if tomorrow, probably in the afternoon, the recording will be online, so you can go back and see the presentation. So at least you can catch up on that and what we talked about tonight.
Okay, where would I find that? How do I get that?
You go to the community board website,
Okay.
which is let me just type it.
If you could do CB Bronx dot City of New York dot US, or just type in Bronx Community Board 8 and it should pop up.
Okay.
And then when you
Bronx
get to the home page, you'll see the tabs on the very home page. It will say Community Board 8 YouTube. And all of the meetings that have been videotaped, you'll be able to find them all there.
Okay, on the YouTube. Yeah.
Yes, and it goes back quite a few years too.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you very much for being here tonight. Althea, thank you for dialing in while you're juggling a million things.
No problem.
All right, thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
too.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.